welcome to the first episode of the Back Pass for the spring 2025 season in the UPSL Georgia Conference. Week one of the Georgia Premier Division started out with a bang as we had 5 games to cover for this kickoff of the season. All the promoted teams were in action, as well as the defending champions, with varying degrees of results. So let's get right into it in no particular order here. Dalton United are under new ownership and have a new outlook as they expand the club in the spring 2025 season, coming so close in the past season in the league and the playoffs, and then progressing in the third qualifying round of the U.S. Open Cup. They had a motivating factor in starting this season on a positive note, and boy, did they do that. Conversely, FC Columbus Elite were promoted from Division One to Premier after removal of Vinotinto Atlanta. This put them in the underdog position against Dalton United. Dalton gave weight to them being favored in this game by running out an emphatic 6-0 winner on the day. Most notably, Jip van den Essen grabbed 5 of those goals and provided the assist for the 6th one. For Columbus, the inexperience in the Premier could be seen by their lack of closing down and marking in defense. This can be devastatingly poor against a potent team like Dalton, and they took full advantage, Dalton did. But having said that, Columbus came close to scoring on a number of occasions and were hard done not to get a goal, at least a goal out of this match. But at the end of the day, the result was an accurate reflection of the day and a great start to the returning Dalton United, but a learning game for Columbus. However, was this a proper reflection of the dominance of Dalton, or was it a situation where they were playing an inexperienced team and got the best of them? Only time will tell, and we have the next few weeks to figure that out. The second game to cover is the match with Georgia Revolution, also matched up against one of the new promoted teams, Pachuca, Georgia. Pachuca were runners-up to the regular season Division One title, but winners of the Division One playoffs to earn a place in the Premier. The Revs were coming back after being eliminated in the Premier Division playoffs after finishing third in the regular season. This was not the ASMG covered game, but the report was that it was a frustrating afternoon for the Revs as Pachuca got the strategy just right to stifle the Revs and smother the game towards a scoreless draw. Though the Revs came close on occasion, it is reported that on balance, the Revs considered this 2 points dropped as opposed to a point gained in the 0-0 draw. Not the start the Revs were looking for, but a great start for Pachuca in their Premier Division adventure. Next up is the very intriguing match between North Georgia United and FC Birmingham. North Georgia have been a revelation since they ended up bottom of the division 2 seasons ago. They answered this by being able to rebound last season with a playoff berth and were unlucky not to get progress further than that in the playoffs. To start the season, it seems that Coach K has strengthened and owner Jonathan Torres has worked off the field to build an even stronger infrastructure for the club, which has given the club a firm foundation to compete this spring. FC Birmingham, on the other hand, have continued to deal with the challenges of playing football in Alabama, where endless playing restrictions and facility issues continue to plague that club. Perhaps this affected their play against North Georgia, as they failed to find any consistency in the game against the organized play of North Georgia, and they fell by the score of 4-2. A great start for North Georgia, but another poor start for FC Birmingham. And sadly for FC Birmingham, trouble with their home venue will continue, which has caused a postponement of their next game, which was scheduled to be against Kalonji Pro Profile. North Georgia will be traveling to Fountain City this coming weekend in Columbus, which will be Fountain City's first match of the season. So we'll go on now to the next game that we were covered. It was a live broadcast by ASMG, and that was the game where SSL FC were hosting the promotees Limeno, Georgia. Now, Limeno were the Division One regular season champions, possibly the youngest team in the Premier this season. SSL were returning to Premier, although they finished in the first relegation space at the end of last season. But because FC Atlanta requested to leave the Premier and play down in Division One for the spring season, it allowed SSL to return for another season in Premier. This is a similar story to North Georgia from last season. So the question would be, will they take advantage of this good fortune for this spring season, SSL? Well, with Tony Tiente, the head coach this season, there was a cleaning of the house, so to speak, and wholesale changes on the roster for SSL, as there was an unhappiness about the way that and the attitude of some of the players from that season. So they formed a new team with new players with this new lease on life in the Premier. But it was Limeno with the superior performance today as they ran out 3-0 winners. But what may be a major factor in that loss for SSL was the fact that they were put together the week before opening day. So they haven't had any time to gel together and become a cohesive team to play. Whereas Limeno, uh, although they're a very young team, well coached and have had a lot of time together to put together a cohesive team. So I think that tells you what the score was all about, but I think the future for SSL is going to get better as the season goes on. They have the proper coaching, they've got the pedigree, and there's plenty of talent out there on the field. So we'll see how it goes in the next few weeks for them. All right, so the next one up is the last review that we'll do with the games that we had, and that will be, of course, the defending champions, Kalanji Pro Profile and Georgia Athletic SC. Now, for Pro Profile, this is an interesting story because gone were a lot of some of the familiar faces, some of the experience that they had in the past, most notably Anthony Sumo. Now, Anthony has signed professional papers with MLS Next Club Carolina Core. And this is a great story for him and also for the UPSL because it illustrates that the pathway to professional doesn't necessarily have to go through college in this country anymore. The UPSL is providing a good platform to be seen, noticed, and approached for a professional career. We've seen this happen on a number of occasions now, and this is the latest one. So with that said, Anthony has gone on to the next level, but that leaves Kalanji with some opportunities for some of the younger players. Of course, Kalen Kalanji, who was a standout youth player from last season, has come into his own now to start. Jason Aguarta, we've seen him included in there with a mix with the usual experience of players like Kareem Tamimi, Kamani Irving, and Daniel Tuamasi. So KSA performance on the day was unlike anything I've ever seen from Pro Profile so far since they've been in the UPSL. I mean, it was a complete performance and a total domination. And this is no slight to Georgia Athletic, who did nothing wrong outside of running into a buzzsaw that was Pro Profile at their peak. And so Georgia Athletic, uh, although they were without their normal attacking threat from Nazario Mbamio, uh, uh, honestly, without the link-up play that they were failed to develop, even with the attacking options they had in this game, I'm not sure what type of effect he could have had in this match. I think a number of great saves from Georgia Athletic keeper Delgado was a sign of how effective the attack was from Pro Profile. But at the end of the day, they just didn't have enough to stay with Pro Profile on the day. Now, the final score was 7-1, and that's pretty much a true reflection of the game. It was rather an emphatic victory for Pro Profile. But there was a mid first half red card from Athletic after the player denied a goal scoring opportunity. It was a proper call. So, but it's only one game for Athletic. They have plenty of time to rebound. They did the same thing last season when they had a game declared a forfeit. They were able to rebound, just falling short of the playoffs. But they've got a solid coaching staff there, and I'm sure that they'll rebound from that. They have an opportunity next week because they go up against SSL FC, who are struggling so far this season, haven't really gelled as a team, as we mentioned before. So that's something to hang their hat on and look forward to next week. Pro Profile, unfortunately, because of the troubles with FC Birmingham, where they were scheduled to play at Carver High School, they're not ready at the facility for that game, so that's been postponed. We're not sure when that's going to be rescheduled. We'll have that news for you, and probably in the Center Circle podcast next week when we have the details of when that game will be rescheduled. So that's it for the hot takes that we have for this episode of the ASMG Pack Pass. Tune in next week. We'll have another episode, and also the more in-depth podcast of Center Circle. And And of course, we'll have set pieces. That podcast is mainly interviews with some of the coaches and players. You get a little bit of background information on some of these individuals and learn a little bit more about the players that you watch from week to week. So thank you for your support. And remember to like, share, and subscribe in order to get the notices of our live streams, contests, podcasts, and more. Ciao, adios, and au revoir. And we'll see you next time on the ASMG Back Pass.